Hello everybody, welcome back to the 8th episode of Mess on Me. Wow. Guys, this is the second episode I filmed within a 3-day vicinity. Who am I? I'm doing big things, everyone. I'm growing up. I'm maturing. It turns out that whenever I allow myself to just do it while laying in my bed, it's really not that hard. Have I ever mentioned how much I love my bed, guys? Yeah, I love to lay. I love to relax. I love to just chill. I just love it so much, everyone. I'm so sorry. What if I just take a nap? No, I want to take a nap. This is the last episode. I went over how I'm changing things up a bit because I realized that whenever I give myself too much structure, I just end up not doing it. I don't like structure. Structure's not for me. So, is the camera angle good? Let me make sure. I realized whenever I was making the short form reels and everything for the last episode, it actually is better whenever I lean back and lay because that way I can make the verticals. I can make them because my face isn't so close to the camera, so. Yippee-ki-yay! Anyway, let's get into this topics. Like I said last week, last episode, I've just started to write down topics that I wanted to discuss. I noticed a theme within the topics that I want to discuss is mostly just like girl stuff, girl talk. Things that I've learned being a girl. So I think that's what we're gonna encompass this whole episode around, and I can just add in points that I want to add in throughout. Discipline is shame-based. Devotion is love-based. What do I mean by this? I think a lot of times discipline works for men because men are inherently very shameful. And it works with their nervous systems in the way that they're wired because men operate from an ability to use shame to fuel themselves into becoming better people, or the antithesis of shame. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like medicinal. Like, it's like it heals that. Because whenever you operate from certain levels of discipline, it makes it so that you want to push forward, you want to do better, you know? That's inherently like a very like masculine trait to be able to do that. But for women, it's a lot harder to be disciplined. Not because we aren't like capable of having good work ethic or anything. It's something that I've seen a lot in my life. I've accomplished a lot of stuff in my life, which is something I want to talk about later. I've accomplished a lot of things, but none of it was really ever set through discipline. And every time I tried to do it through discipline, it never worked out. It never, brewed as much success as it did through devotion. Through devotion, I'd say doing something from pure passion. This podcast that I'm doing, it's not for fame, it's not for money, it's not for anything other than the fact that I love to talk, to be able to help people understand their own thoughts. I spent so long in my life thinking, and I had a coffee with Brooke today, which, by the way, I have 2 friends named Brooke. You guys wonder why I say Brooke so much. Can I clip this onto something to make it easier to hold? If you guys don't know, I do have a video version of this on YouTube if you want to go watch, if you're not already. I was talking to Brooke about this earlier today. I went through a lot of stuff last year that I don't go into details about ever. I give the outline, like I was in psychosis for a couple months, was not grounded in reality. I went through a lot of betrayal, heartbreak, a lot of loneliness on top of that also. I used to be the type of person who would force myself into these schedules, would force myself into structure. I would not allow myself to flow. And once I kind of came back to reality in a sense, through therapy, through, seeking help, it just became too much. I reached a point of emotional exhaustion where I think I spent about 2 months, 70% of my time just laying in my bed. And I don't mean I spent 70% of my time laying in my bed doom scrolling. I was bed rotting, but I was still filming videos. I was still uploading TikToks. I was still doing everything. So on social media, my life looks like I was being productive, like I was doing a bunch of stuff. But generally, I'd spend 1 out of every 3 days out of bed. And it was really, really hard, especially doing all of that alone. Because I'm the type of person who, I said this in the last episode also, whenever I go through stuff, I don't know what it is. I can't let anyone know unless I'm out of it. And I realized that it's because once I'm out of a situation, I've already learned from it, and I'm able to kind of use that as framework to give other people advice on what I did in those situations. But before, I don't want anyone to know. I don't even know how to describe it, honestly. If you would have asked me back then, how are you? I would have been like, oh, I'm all good. Don't think I would have been lying. But I was still spending 70% of my time in my bed. And it was just because once you start truly healing, your body needs to rest because it needs to make up for all the emotional exhaustion that it faced for years. I spent so long dissociated out of my body. I would tell people stories about things I went through in my life and they'd be like, wow, I'm so sorry. How have you gone through so much? And I genuinely would look at it honestly, I don't think this is that much. There's people out there who've been through way worse stuff and they're like, Val, what are you talking about? This is crazy. This is genuinely insane. You haven't caught a break since you were ever. And to me, it's I don't ever talk about how hard everything was because I try to extract the wisdom from the situation and I'll tell you the wisdom. I tell you what I learned from it, but I don't tell you how difficult it was. So people think that I'm just really strong. I'm very resilient, that I'm able to go through things and like get back up. But they don't see the moments where I was genuinely like scream crying, where I felt genuinely hopeless, where I felt like it was never going to end. And I had one of those moments like 2 days ago. It's one of those things that I'm still trying to navigate because I don't know when I'm going through hard stuff. My life has been like one big long hard stuff. And I don't like to look at it that way because I think there's any benefit in that. I don't think there's anything good that comes from victimizing yourself. But I've also needed to learn and understand that like just because I'm saying like, hey, I'm going through stuff right now isn't me victimizing myself. And I guess like that's something we can learn here together. I know so much stuff. I have a lot of wisdom. I've gone through a lot of things. I know how to navigate nearly every life situation because I've gone through nearly every life situation you could think of. For the most part, when people come to me for advice about something, I really do know what to say because I've gone through something like it. And obviously that's like generalization of like what you could possibly go through. And I'm really grateful, honestly, because I don't operate from the levels of hypervigilance that I used to. I have God to thank for that. Also, by the way, releasing an ebook soon on like how I healed trauma through Christ, everything. When it comes to like overall despair, this is one of those things where it's like, I got nothing, which is crazy, honestly, because I don't know why I do it. I think it's just because I put so much pressure on myself to be perfect that it's not that I don't want anyone to not see me as perfect, because it's not an image thing, it's not an ego thing. It's none of that. If that were the case, I wouldn't ever come on here and share anything. If I wanted to seem like I was perfect, people know that I'm not perfect. Like, I don't even know when I'm going through a hard time. To me, this is life. Or at least it was for a long time. And it wasn't until I came to God, was sanctified, kind of cleaned of all this stuff, that I've reached a point in my life now where I'm like relatively good. I've reached a homeostasis of like greatness, you know? Like life doesn't feel like Sisyphus and the boulder, an analogy I used to use a lot. Now it feels like Sisyphus and the boulder, but Jesus is helping me carry the boulder, so it's not as heavy anymore. I was talking to Brooke. She was like, so what's new with you? I haven't seen you in forever, it feels like. And I was like, yeah, honestly, nothing. And in the moment when I said that, I genuinely felt it. She's been like, wait, it's been so long though. And I was like, yeah, bro, I know. Crazy. Kind of sucks. I feel like I've repeated the same day forever. And then as the conversation goes on later on, I'm like slowly mentioning things to her. And I'm like, yeah, I have 20,000 followers on Instagram now. I wrote a book. I have a casting for Victoria's Secret at the end of the month for the fashion show. So many different things that are so cool that I'm doing. And she was like, hold on, Val, what are you talking about? You walked into this today and you told me there's nothing new. This is all like insane stuff. And I kind of sat there for a second. I was like, oh my gosh. And I didn't realize like I have just been so like, I don't know what it has been like the past like couple weeks. So like gloomy, if that makes sense. Nowhere near as bad as it used to be. 100%. But it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know how to give myself credit for what I do, for everything that I've gone through and everything that I've created out of what I've gone through. Because it doesn't feel like it's me. It feels like it was God. And people ask me like, why don't you give yourself credit? Like, why are you always talking about God and stuff like that? I'm like, because I don't feel like I did none of this. You guys see the products of the stuff that I do, but you guys don't see the tears, the hopelessness, the dead ends, like the genuine just like stress that goes on behind the scenes. That if it were up to me, I would just be like sitting in my bed all day, every day. If it were me leaning on my own strength, I would be spending 70% of my time in my bed. But all the stuff that I've done this year in comparison to the ending of last year, it doesn't feel like it's me. I think that I also need to learn to balance that and give myself credit, because now I feel like I've really leaned into this like pessimistic viewpoint. And I do also think very likely iron deficient. Whenever you're really iron deficient, you have chronic fatigue, insomnia, mood swings, all this other stuff. So I'm going to be checking my ferritin level soon. So hopefully that's why. On the way there, I was literally listening to worship music in my car and crying, because that's just like how hopeless I felt. And that's just kind of how I can describe the feeling that goes on in the back of my head, in the back of my like spirit. It's just like hopeless. And I hate it, because there's some weeks where I'm like so filled with faith. I'm so faithful. I see God. I feel God. And there's other weeks where I feel really separated from God. I feel like I'm disappointing him. I feel like I'm not doing enough. And that's why I fail to give myself credit for anything, because it just always feels like I can be doing more. And I've gotten to a point where I allow myself to have rest time. I allow myself to understand like, no, if I can't get out of bed today, I can't get out of bed today. I'm not going to overwork for myself, because that just never ends well. And luckily I do have, my job is remote. Like I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to respond to anyone. I work for myself technically, which is something I'm so lucky, so grateful for. I would not be here without God, 100%. Do you know how like blessed I am? Like sometimes I think I need to like step back and realize my job quite literally is to just sit and talk to a camera. And I struggle to do that sometimes. And what is it? Like, I don't know. I think this is like a kind of self-reflection thing today. It's for me too, guys. Like, I know usually I come on here and I have all the answers. I'm like a wizard. Just like rub my lamp, I'll come to you. But now I'm just like, guys, I don't know. I struggle too. Maybe that's today's lesson is like, don't look at people's social medias. Don't compare yourself to people online. And that's the biggest thing I've learned is whenever I'm feeling like I'm behind in life, I just look at my social medias from an outside perspective and I'm like, yeah, my life is not like this. I know that's bad, but it's not like I like keep it a secret, you know what I'm saying? Like if anybody were to ask me, I'd be like, yeah, no, like I'm in like pits right now. Like I'm like not doing well mentally. And it's so hard sometimes because it's like, I struggle a lot with finding community also. Brooke and I talked about that today too. She was like, yeah, like usually I'll have a group of friends that I'll text about like prayer and stuff if I'm going into something. It's just like nice to know you have like a person or two praying for you. So if you ever need that, like text me about it. And I was like, I love that. And she was just talking about like all these little like group things she does. And she was like, yeah, like if you ever want to do a fast together, like I like doing fasting with people and stuff because I like having people to text. Suffering together halves the suffering, you know? And I thought about that. And I was like, my entire life I have forced myself to do everything alone. And granted, every time I did try to reach out for help, I was not met very well. If anything, every time I have tried to reach out for help, it kind of ended really badly actually. Like I don't think I've ever been able to reach out for help without somebody crafting a narrative where I was like schizophrenic or someone else like crafting a narrative saying that I was performative and not like myself anymore, or ending up being talked about in a group chat. Like I hate talking about this and I hate bringing this up because I feel like this can go sideways very easily. It's one of those topics that you have to be very good at articulating. Oh my gosh, like I'm so pretty, haha, everyone like just wants to see me fail. But it's true. I didn't realize the extent of it. I always knew people generally don't really like to see pretty people succeed because it just makes them feel bad about themselves and it highlights where they also are faltering. You know what I'm saying? Because usually it's like, oh, she's pretty, but like I can make myself feel better because she's stupid and she like relies on a man and all this other stuff. Like usually that's how it goes. But when it's like she's pretty, she's ambitious, she's hardworking, and she also has struggles. Those are like a lot of paradoxes that people can't seem to hold. So because of the fact that I was growing a lot on social media, at the same time doing the worst I'd ever been doing mentally in my life, and I'd also lost a lot of weight, so I looked really good, but I lost a lot of weight because I was so anxious I wasn't eating or sleeping. And when my friends would ask me what's up, I'm not one to share immediately like, oh, like, hey, I kind of want to die. I don't know how I'm going to keep going every day. Like I have zero will to live. Genuinely, I am like at the bottom pits of hell mentally. Obviously, I don't want to say that, so I'm just like, been tea recently, haha, like what about you? Or I'm going to bring up a topic of conversation, you know, it's just going to be something lighthearted. Then I get called superficial, all this other stuff, and then when I say, you know what, I'm sorry, because I remember this conversation I had with one of my old friends, like she even said like, it just kind of sucks how you're like only talking about this stuff, and I'm like, you know what? You're so right. I'm sorry. I've been going through a lot of stuff recently and I try to only talk about the positives going on in my life. So honestly, the only positive thing I have going for me right now is that like I don't hate my body anymore because I'm low-key kind of malnourished, and now I can like look at myself in the mirror and not want to die. But hey, it's a positive though, right? Like that's genuinely the only up I had at that time. But at the same time, when your stories are like VIP accesses behind the DJ booth, your stories are being in cool cars, your stories are, you know, little like your TikToks are montages of like going out, little get ready with me's with your makeup or you look stunty. You know what I'm saying? Like people think, oh, she's such an attention whore, like look at all this stuff she has now and she just wants more and more and more. Like, ugh, no, like not at all, no. I'm not a partier. I party when I'm sad. I party to escape myself. Party to escape my mind. I'm not one of those people who's like generally just enjoys to go out. I like to go out to like a jazz club. I like to go on a vacation and maybe like I'll go to a little party there, have a few like little drinks, everything. But I'm not the type of person who can go on benders unless it's like I'm trying to like escape from something. That's just like me. And I know how to have fun. Like every once in a while, I'll be like, yeah, let's go, let's do it. You know, like I'm not hating, it's just like not my thing. That's just it. So whenever you're that kind of person, people don't see it as you're going out and you're like, this is just one of those things where I don't even know how to explain it. Like my life looked so good on the outside, but internally I was just genuinely dying. And Brooke and I actually did a podcast episode on her podcast while I was like in psychosis last year. And we were talking, and that was the first time we'd ever met. That's how we became friends, is she invited me to be on her podcast because she found my TikTok and everything. And she was like, yeah, I really like your stuff. Like, come be on it. She told me today, she was like, I'm not gonna lie, seeing you today and just like the energy that I feel from you, from your presence, like your auric field, like you just give off very much like grounded, regulated woman of God. Being in your presence is like a very grounding experience. Whereas last year I felt as though it was more anxious and like sporadic, and like it just felt more, not that it was bad being around me, but you could just feel it on me, the changes when you speak to me. And I don't think people understand that, like, because the kind of version of myself that I portray in social media is very different, if that makes sense. On certain friends, I'm more like 80%, and then everyone else gets a very like, not even curated, closed off, but just more discerning. I'm not a very open book. I share what I feel is necessary for me to share, to have people feel understood. But the version of me that people meet in real life is very different than the version of me that I have ever been. I think I've changed a lot in the past year. So much, like never before in my life. And that's exactly, I think, what Brooke means when she says a grounded presence. I can be chaotic and I can be myself on social media because that's my natural personality, you know? I'm not masking as much. I'm not trying to come across any certain way. I'm just truthfully being myself online because online is my safe space. I've gone through enough stuff in my life to understand that you cannot show people in real life who you are and truthfully at your core until they've earned access. Because people relatively don't understand paradoxes. People don't know how to hold that. So if I meet somebody and I am immediately coming off, you know, like my Pinkie Pie personality, if you will, being all like, hi, what's up? They're gonna think that I'm dumb. They're gonna think that I am just very naive, that I don't know a lot. But if I come into a room and I'm being myself, they're both me, you know? It's not like I'm like putting in any effort, if that makes sense. It's very much both are authentic versions of myself. I've just mastered both sides of myself, if that makes sense. So going through and being able to have lifelong personality who is fundamentally me at my core, being giggly, being fun, being easily laughable, being kind, positive person, I'm able to integrate that with the version of myself that I created as protection, to where I was standoffish and cold and not really talkative and just like very observant, if that makes sense. I'm able to ground those two personalities into one, and they're both me, and I can operate from a range of both sides. So when I meet people in real life, I'm not sporadic. My energy is very grounded. My energy is very much like, hi, nice to meet you. It's very attentive. It's very focused on conversation. It's very, try to operate from the fruits of the spirits as much as I can. And if that means somebody's gossiping around me and I say, I don't engage with that, I don't engage with that. I'm going to be kind to everybody, and I'm going to respect everyone, because I don't think respect is an earned thing. I think respect is something that I'm going to give everyone. And if you're not worthy of my respect, then I shouldn't even be talking to you to begin with. I think this whole idea of like, you have to earn my respect is just a covert way of being mean to people without like any self-reflection. I think it's just a way to project your own internal negative stuff onto others so that you don't have to deal with it. So if I don't respect you, I don't speak to you. You're not going to put me in a position where I have to stray from my fundamental values in order to keep you in check. Are we following? If I have to stray, or if I have to dysregulate myself and I'm getting angry and I'm getting frustrated with you because of an action that you're doing, we've already gone too far. Because I am very, very slow to anger. That's something that I've really spent a lot of time getting to. I'm just not the type of person who goes to those emotions anymore. I don't really get angry ever. I get disappointed 100%, but I don't really ever get angry. So if you are making me angry, I want you out of my life yesterday. That boundary should have been drawn. Like, I've gotten to a point in my life now where I genuinely don't care who you are. I have cut off family members. I have distanced myself from people who I thought were going to be in my life forever. I got to a point in my life so low that the only thing I turned to was God, because it was the only thing I had left. Because anytime I even tried to open up to people, they were just so quick to misunderstand me. They were so quick to paint me out to be somebody that I wasn't. They were so quick to try and tell me who I was. And I'm just like, no, I don't fear losing anybody. I don't fear losing people. I don't fear anything. And I think it takes a lot to come to this point in life. And sometimes I sit and I think about the version of myself who was innocent, who was naive, who genuinely believed, why would someone do that to me? Why would somebody act in these ways? Who genuinely did not understand the evil in this world because she had never seen it. And it wasn't that it wasn't in front of her. I didn't have that in me to be able to perceive it. Because generally we see what we're focused on. I wasn't focused on any of that. I was focused on the amount of love that I could give people around me. I was focused on kindness, other stuff. I would get overstimulated and I would feel really overwhelmed, so I would be mean to people without realizing it. I would be mean, but inside I would be like, stop being mean, why are you acting like this? I didn't understand it, but I was just really overwhelmed. And that's why I think it's so annoying when people say like, oh, I'm so overstimulated. You don't get what it's like to be overstimulated, because when I'm overstimulated, you call me a bitch. You don't know the first thing about being overstimulated. I'm so sorry. I don't know, just to tie back into the original topic I was talking about, being able to go through a range like that yourself, it requires going into your shadows without running from them. And that's how you grow as a person. Because your growth as a person is directly tied to how much truth you can face about yourself without wanting to run away. And not only did I face all this truth about myself, I faced all these projections about myself, and I tried to work through the projections as well. I was constantly doing internal work, all this other stuff to try and like regulate myself, just to come find out like, this is just me. This is who I am. I feel things deeply. I'm never gonna get to a point where I can like work through my emotions. Like, what do you want me to do, become a sociopath? And I only made myself worse. I turned myself into a robot. I allowed all these people's projections to make me believe myself to be something that I wasn't, to the point where I was constantly blaming myself and thinking I was such an awful person. I was reading books nonstop on like how to regulate your emotions, books nonstop on psychology, how to be normal. Hey, by the way, here's the answers you were looking for your entire life. ADHD, OCD, autism. Oh, cool. Awesome. And I wouldn't have OCD if it wasn't for the lifelong mischaracterization I experienced, being the object of everyone's projections. That's what it is to be beautiful in this society. People think it's this like trophy and this like role of excellence and this amazing thing. It's really not. You guys look at me, I don't look at me. I look at me and I think everything that I can do better. I look at me and I think, ugh, And people always think that just because you speak highly of yourself that you don't have insecurities. But I'm sorry, guys, like my insecurities are none of your business. That's just always been my philosophy. If I'm insecure about something, that's nobody's issue but my own. No one needs to know about that. Because why am I purposely going to tell people about what I'm insecure about just so they can look at me and see that insecurity? You know what I'm saying? It's like when people are like super insecure about the fact that my face is lopsided. Would I have ever thought their face was lopsided? No. But now that they've pointed it out, yeah, I can see how it's a little lopsided. I've just always thought that way. I've always seen things like that. So I've only ever spoke really highly of myself because my insecurities are none of your business. I think that is my philosophy with everything in life. It's like whenever I go through stuff, that's nobody's business but my own, because who's gonna help me? No one. And it's a pessimistic way of thinking to a lot of people. Honestly, when you're like me, I've been very beautiful my entire life, and I didn't come to think that I was genuinely attractive until I was around 17ish. My entire life, I thought I was ugly because everybody would always constantly tell me how ugly I was. And Brooke told me today, yeah, no, I actually found out, like, I had this group of friends and they would always call me dumb and everything, until one day I found out, like, the only reason they called me dumb is they were making jokes. My GPA was higher than all of them. Jokes are grounded in truth to some extent, so I thought that they really did think that I was just dumb. And I was like, that's how I felt the levels of attraction that I held my entire life. And people are always like, why are you dating these guys? Like, you could do so much better, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, so you text me good morning every day by saying I'm ugly, and then you turn around and tell me I deserve better. I don't understand this. And that's the thing with being autistic, is you take everything at face value. So my entire life, everyone called me ugly. I believed I was ugly. I speak highly of myself generally my entire life because I'm raised by a dad. Get in trouble if I speak negatively about myself, guys. Like, I don't think you understand. I can't even utter some doubt around my dad because he's gonna be like, watch your mouth. Like, you know how kids get in trouble for cussing? I don't get in trouble for cussing, but I do get in trouble for speaking negatively on myself. That's just how it is in my family. And it's probably why I am the way I am today, you know? It's just one of those things where I don't even know what my point is with all of this now that I think about it. Like, this is honestly just a rant. I'm just ranting because people can look at you. And obviously this doesn't negate the experiences of anybody who feels like they've been on the other spectrum of this within society, not being conventionally attractive and feeling ignored in those ways because of that. Like, obviously there's nuance to things. My experiences don't negate yours, and your experiences don't negate mine. But it's just so frustrating to see. I've literally had people comment on my videos like, I don't feel bad for you. Imagine having to do all this neurodivergence and stuff and like also be unattractive. Like, you can use your attractiveness to mask and everything. And I'm like, I might be able to use my attractiveness to mask. Don't get to use my attractiveness when it comes to like community. When it comes to, hey guys, I'm going through something. I need people, help me. I don't get to do that because it doesn't matter how long I'm friends with someone for. I could wake up tomorrow and they could hate me and they could go spill all my secrets to someone, which has happened. The one time I ever trusted somebody with something huge in my life, they went and they told people. 2 times that's happened with 2 people now that I think about it. But I have a genuine inability to open up about things to people. And it sounds crazy because like, hi, podcast, everything. But like, that's why I turn to God, because God's never going to go and tell my secrets to others. God's never going to go and tell people things about me. And it's social currency, honestly. You get to a certain point of your life where you're able to recognize, and this isn't rooted in ego. Like, this isn't me trying to be like, I'm so much better. This is honestly rooted in self-awareness. People talk about things worth talking about. And if people want to congregate and they want to get in groups just to share little things and little flaws they found in you, it's because they're insecure and they never want to admit it. It's because you shine a light on their shadows that they never wanted to face. You shine a light on the spots that they were trying so hard to cover up. And it's not an appearance thing. And I think people forget that so much, but it's very much an authenticity thing. I've been very attractive my entire life, and I've been very much myself my entire life. People will demonize you for not being in the prison they created in their head. People will genuinely be like, why don't you follow all these social rules and all these little norms? I'm like, because I don't want to. They don't make sense to me. They never will. Like, genuinely, it looks like hieroglyphics to me. I don't get it. I don't perceive it. I think it's stupid. And it's not in a way where I think it's stupid, like I think I'm above it. It's in a way where it's like, I don't understand it. I don't comprehend it. I'm not going to do all this mental gymnastics to try to understand these stupid societal rules when I could just like not talk to you. That simple. Being beautiful is being forced into isolation at the hands of the projections of an insecure society. People look at you and they want you to be grateful for the way that you look. People look at you and they want you to be grateful for the fact that like you could get on a yacht really easily. You could get your flights paid for. People want to look at you and they want you to be grateful for the fact that your body could get you access anywhere. Your face could get you access anywhere. But what if I never wanted any of that stuff to begin with? What if I wanted understanding, love, compassion, connection? I want to be seen for who I am and not for who your projections decided I'm going to be. Because a lot of men are intimidated by beauty and they want to worship it from afar. And then others are drawn not for the purpose of conversation. So therefore the beauty suffers in isolation, right? I don't feel like a person. Sometimes I feel like an object in a museum. I've never actually been loved for who I am. I've only been loved for the way that I make a man look when I stand next to him. And whenever the idea that he created of me in his head doesn't line up with who I actually am, I get abused. I get told that I'm too much. I get told that I need to work on my emotional regulation skills. I get told all this other stuff that I need to fix about myself. But you knew who I was when you met me, you bitch. It's not like I was hiding anything. I told them, hey, I've been through a lot of shit in my life. I think that genuinely having so many men obsess over you in unhealthy ways. I've had a guy send me an email for like 150 days in a row asking for a date, like a chance, after I rejected him I don't know how many times. And that's not a flex to me. That's not something that I use as an ego boost. Because having 1,000 men lust over you is nothing compared to having one man understand you at a soul level and choose you. And to be able to put his ego and his pride aside and to say, I want you. I don't know how this is going to go. I don't know how this is going to play out, but I want you to know that I want you. And all the actions that I take from here on out are towards you. And it might take some time, it might, but to be able to communicate that, I think that's all I've really ever wanted. Because I've had to play so many guessing games, I've had to do all this other stuff because men generally think that like, because I look the way that I do, and I am the person that I am, and I wear this like protective shield of who I portray myself to be out of my own safety, they think that they have to like move a certain way or like buy me a certain thing or do all this other stuff. I'm like, have you even gotten to know me? Do you even know what I'm actually like? A lot of men will claim, I'm not lusting over you. I think you're so sweet and so funny and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, this is the version of me that you created in your head. But that version of me is not real and it never will be. I'm never going to live up to this idealized, pedestalized version you have of me because I'm a human being. I'm a person. I make mistakes. I'm not perfect. This is my flesh and my bone, and it's configured in a certain way that society deemed was awesome. That's really it, though. You don't know me. You're drawn to my authenticity because the light in the beginning feels awesome. Eventually you get too close and the light shines upon all of the shadows you've been running from. And what now? You either do the internal work or you weaponize that light and try to burn me with it. And guess which option has always been picked? And that's why it's so frustrating to me to see all these girls out there who will post videos on how to make a man obsessed with you. Take it from somebody who genuinely can't speak to a guy without being stalked for the rest of her life. You don't want this. This isn't fun. This isn't good. This isn't nice. I hate it. I isolate myself. I don't go out in public. I don't go out. I don't like it. I don't like feeling stared at so much. I don't like it. I feel like I'm propped up in a museum. So many people are gonna listen to this and be like, oh my gosh, your life is so hard, blah, blah, blah. But I don't really think people understand what it's like to genuinely go your entire life not feeling close to anybody, girls or guys, because people switch up on you within a second, because people never ever see you for who you are. They only ever see you for who they paint you out to be. And whenever you don't fall in line with that projection and you make a mistake because you're human, it's not, oh, you make a mistake, we're human. Because they never thought you to be human subconsciously in the first place. So whenever you make a mistake, whenever you fuck up, it's like, see, I knew it. I knew she was a bad person the entire time. Like, ugh, your insecurities got old really fast. Like, oh my gosh, all this other stuff. You didn't used to be this way. I still am not this way. I don't know who you're painting me out to be in your head. I'm just going through something. It really is not that big of a deal. And they'll be the first to say like, oh, I didn't even tell you about this because like I knew you wouldn't take accountability in the first place. Like, I just can't tell you anything. That's not true. You've never actually told me anything, actually. You know, we can go look at the receipts. I was very willing to say I'm sorry. I was very willing to grow from it. Is it that you don't want to bring it up to me because I'm not going to take accountability, or because you don't want to get out of your comfort zone? People generally, they will blame you for not being able to take accountability for things they never communicated. And then when you try to reflect back to them like, hey, no, I'm not this way whatsoever. You just don't know how to communicate. Had you told me, I would have understood completely, and I would have backed off. I would have done whatever it is that you want me to do. How am I supposed to read your mind and just know? And it's not because of anything you did. You likely didn't even display traits of somebody who lacks accountability. They're just, you know, they have selective memory. So they only pick out memories and stuff and moments to where they can weaponize and say, see, look at this moment. And it's like you just like questioning and trying to gain a better understanding of what it is that they were trying to say. When it comes to situations like this, though, I've realized it's not that I couldn't take accountability. It's that they didn't want to get out of their comfort zone. They were so comfortable behind that little mask, behind that projection. That's what it is. People don't want to get uncomfortable. When you have a naturally intimidating aura, people are so quick to be like, she wouldn't understand. I am genuinely one of the most understanding people there is on earth. Cognitively wired to pathologize everyone's actions. I have literal OCD that has developed from this. I am so understanding. Even if you don't communicate, I'm still trying to patch together your childhood trauma that made you that way so I could realize why you're such an awful person. And then I can like be like, oh, you know what? I understand what's going on here. Like, I didn't deserve that. They didn't deserve whatever happened to them. And I can move on and I can forgive them and everything. It's just that they don't want to get out of their comfort zone, because coming to you and confronting you about something is something that makes them shit their pants. And it makes them realize how much they actually fear you and how much they actually are intimidated by you and how highly they pedestalize you. So instead, it's just good to paint you out to be a bad person, because it's much easier than confronting how insecure you make them. Anyway, tying back into my whole how to get a man obsessed with you thing, I see so many TikToks of women, even like girls, who are like, sprinkle this other stuff, how to get a man obsessed with you, like here's what you have to do, all these certain actions. And it's just like this like rule book in a sense that you have to follow. And I'm like, this is so dumb, because that's not how you get a man obsessed with you. Take it from a vet. This isn't a flex to me. This isn't something that I enjoy. This is something that happens to happen when you do the internal work. But if you want a man obsessed with you, you already lost, guys. If you want men to be obsessed with you, they're already sensing that on you energetically. If you want to see the world at the surface level, that's great. But men are going to become obsessed with you whenever you decenter men. Not because like men like things they can't have, blah, blah, blah. It's basic biological wiring. I'm just saying. Women were never meant to contort themselves to be whatever a man wants. Women were meant to shine bright, to be themselves, to be healed, to be regulated. And whatever man is meant for her will show up and will be completely infatuated with her as she is. He will never try to change you. He will love you as you are. And you also have to have the discernment to see through men's bullshit. I don't care how much sweet talking a guy does. I know right off the bat where all of this sweet talking is coming from, because I know it's not coming from a soul level. Because if it happens before you actually know anything about me, oh, that's a lie. I promise you guys, love bombing sounds very, very stupid after you heal. I can't wait to go on this vacation with you. We met 3 hours ago. I'm just saying. Oh, my mom would love it. You don't know me. Plain and simple. Okay, I promise you guys, like, and I saw this video actually of like, go watch Carrie Bradshaw versus Carolyn Bessette. Carolyn Bessette cracked the code to how to make a man like obsessed. She knows how to talk to men. Carolyn Bessette prioritizes herself. She's decentered men. She's focused on her career, her ambitions, her hobbies. So she is just talking and men naturally get obsessed with her. There's no rule book. There's no magic formula. There's no nothing. It's just basic authenticity. But you can't do that until you face your shadows. You can't do that until you do the internal work. You cannot do that until you face who you truly are and you heal from all the stuff that is guiding your life unconsciously. After that whole sanctification period with God and healing and truly becoming aligned, like, your energy can shift a room. Women are very, very spiritual and valuable beings. things. And to be minimized to just something so surface level, so face value is so like irritating to me. And I think that's why I get so irritated whenever I feel the lust on a man. I think that's why I get so irritated whenever I see that someone's only seeing me for the surface and not for who I truly am and the depth that I can hold. That's why it's so frustrating to me, because it's like you don't even have the capacity to perceive what I am. And I don't want to be around people like that anymore, because they're going to fill the gaps they can't see with who they want you to be and who they believe you to be based on their own insecurity levels. That's just it. Their trauma is going to fill those gaps. And to realize that you've never actually been truly seen in your life is so frustrating. And it makes you so angry. And I went a while where I was just genuinely filled with so much rage. And I think after that period where I was just so mad for so long is whenever I started to really become like grounded and regulated. I think that was the final stage of breaking. I was sad for a little, I mourned, and then finally at the end there I was so angry for like a month straight. It's not easy. Nobody ever said it was going to be easy. But if you truly want to get to know yourself and you want to stop operating from your wounds and you want to stop letting that control your life, you're going to have to do the work, you know? So now, whenever I try to talk about these things, I recognize that if anybody tries to be like, oh, pretty hurts, ew, I don't get offended by it. I can just recognize that's okay. You just haven't met yourself well enough to understand nuance. You don't have the cognitive ability to understand where it is that I'm coming from. When people say things like, I just don't feel bad for you because of blah, 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 and I'm like, that's cool. I do want you to know that like my pain does not negate yours or anybody else's. We're living two individual experiences that are isolated on this planet. One does not have any correlation to the other. Why are we trying to pit women against each other? You know what I'm saying? Like the other day, a girl came on my For You page who was talking about her struggles as somebody who is not attractive. She said, I'll never know what it's like to walk by a line and just get passed through. I'll never know what it's like to be offered something for free because of the way that I look. Yeah, there's a lot of privilege that comes with being the way that I am, you know, looking the way that I am. But it kind of sucks when you don't even get to exercise those privileges because it's not what brings you joy. I can walk up to a line at a club and I can walk in easy. I can walk up to a DJ booth and they'll let me in, no questions. I can do all this other stuff. But what I can't do is sit in a group of people and feel understood. What I can't do is go through something in life without everyone turning on me. What I can't do is get off of that stage. And people are so quick to be like, well, just like make yourself uglier, you know? I've gone out post hot yoga, sweaty, no makeup, and still had people tell me, wow, you are so beautiful. And that's not something for me to say like, I'm so pretty, ooh woo. It's just to get a general consensus. Like you cannot escape your body. So you just have to love it how it is. It does suck to feel so alone all the time. And it doesn't matter if I'm within a group of people. And especially when you're as aware as I am, is what sucks. Because it's one thing to be beautiful and unaware, and just be like, yay, thank you for all this free stuff, yay. But when it comes from a place of like, I know you're letting me through because you're imagining things about me. I know you're doing this because you think you're going to get something out of it. I know you're doing this because of the way that I look. It's just not fun. It really isn't. It makes you feel gross. It makes you feel used. It makes you feel like who you are on a soul level never mattered. Because that's the thing with me is like I've always put such an emphasis on the mind, on the soul, on trying to be the best version of myself that I possibly could be. But I've only been met with people who see me as worse and worse and worse. And it's so isolating and it's so lonely. And I have my friends 100%, but like, I don't know, you know, like, because even whenever you meet up with other pretty girls, if that girl hasn't done the internal work as well, she's gonna project stuff onto you too. And I'm sorry, but especially nowadays, whenever a lot of these girls, like, they're pretty and stuff, they look good, they have fillers and everything, they find out that you don't have anything, you just look like this. Like, yeah, I got a nose job, but like, pull up my baby pictures, I've always been a very beautiful girl. People take advantage of that a lot. And I think about all the times in my life where I've been taken advantage of, and it's just like so frustrating because I didn't deserve that. And I was so young and I didn't even understand what was going on, you know? I didn't get it. And to have nobody explain it to you either, because everyone just convinces you that you're so ugly. So you don't even see it. You don't understand, like, why are people so weird to me? I don't get it. So you grow up and you're like, oh, it's because of how I look, but it's not because of a bad thing. Trying so hard to constantly overcompensate and do all these things to like meet people's expectations, but you never will, because it's a moving goalpost. It's constantly moving. You never will be perfect to people, so just be yourself and be happy. Love yourself enough to fill the gaps that people left on the random days they decided to walk away. That's all you can really do. I don't know. And this isn't anything that I'm trying to post to be like, oh, look at me, my sob story. Like, not really. Like, if anything, I hate being pitied so much. I'll tell people stories and I'm like, do not say like, I'm so sorry you had to go through that. Like, don't say, like, it makes me like cringe. I'm like, ew, no, stop. It doesn't feel good to me. It feels like, ugh. We're gonna have story time. and you're gonna laugh at the funny parts. And that's really it. We don't need any, like, act as if I'm telling you, like, this really cool story. Like, this isn't anything connected to my life. Because I already worked through my stuff for the most part. Obviously, life is, like, a never-ending thing of, like, constantly, like, reflecting on yourself, on your actions, integrating new experiences, everything. Like, that's what life is about. It's about learning. Being able to just look back on everything at this point in my life now, like, I wouldn't be the woman that I am today without it, but I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy. So while I'm grateful for my experiences and how strong they made me and who they shaped me up to be, there's not a single person on this planet who knows the entirety of everything. I don't even think there's a single person on the planet who knows half. And I really wouldn't wish it upon, like, the worst person on earth. And honestly, it's just because I know that the worst person on earth isn't inherently the worst person. They're just operating from certain levels of trauma wounds that they haven't worked through that are making them act that way. So it really highlights, like, it's your decision what you do with the stuff you go through. You can let it rot you inside, and you can let it turn you evil, or you can let it make you the best version of yourself you were possibly able to be. And I'm happy and I'm excited for what's to come in my future. And I probably wouldn't have been well equipped to hold everything that's coming had I not been through everything I went through. I think I'm allowed to say, like, fuck, that shit hurt. Fuck, that shit was awful. That was hard. It wasn't fun. It didn't look like it looks like online. I'm not just, like, whining to whine. I went through some shit. Everything that I do now is an apology to my past self. It's an apology for letting the things slide that I let slide. Never seeing the good in me. My potential was always there. I always had it deeply ingrained into me. I just needed to access it and to stop focusing so much on what people thought of me and focus on who I could build myself up to be. I hope you guys can learn from my experiences so that you don't have to go through them yourselves. Don't let your ego make you think that you can fix somebody or that you can make people understand you, because you can't. I'm sorry. Pride's gonna get you killed. I promise you. And it might not be pride rooted in negativity. It might be pride rooted in wanting understanding. It might be pride rooted in wanting people to understand that you never meant to hurt them. But pride is going to get you killed. So it's best that you just say fuck everyone and you go and you walk the path, even if you have to walk it alone. So I've been walking alone, walked 1,000 miles in these Louboutins. I've been walking. And I wouldn't be the person that I am today if I hadn't decided, cool, I'll just do it alone. I feel like this was more of, like, a personal episode. I really opened up a lot more here. Had it framed to, like, myself. And if you relate to my experiences, I really hope you can extract, you know, the wisdom and the advice that I gained from it so you don't have to go through it yourself. At some point in life, you realize sometimes you're just the shit. And people love talking because they know they could never be you. And that's something that I've realized a lot in my life, is people never generally hated me that much. They just hated that they couldn't put on my skin and be me. And I don't really care how egotistical that sounds, because I've never really been an egotistical person. I've minimized myself continuously my entire life to keep others comfortable. And this is the first time in my life I'm really coming forward and being like, yeah, no, like, I'm pretty fucking cool. I know how to make things happen, so I'm gonna start making them happen. I've spent too long putting my energy into trying to make people understand that I'm not a bad person. My energy now is channeled into being the genuinely, like, most authentic, cool version of myself. It's going into being the shit without shitting on others, because that's just never been me. That's just never been something I found enjoyment in. I've never found enjoyment in putting others down. I don't believe that genuine soul level swag aura, if you will. I don't believe that you need to put others down in order to make it happen. Like, your swag gap is so swag gappy that you don't need to minimize anybody. The swag gap speaks for itself. If anything, you're not intimidated by anyone, so you're constantly uplifting people, hyping people up. That's just how I've been my entire life. I'm constantly telling, like, you look so pretty, you look so good. My entire life, because I've never felt the need to covertly make people feel bad about themselves. I've only ever felt the need to point the best parts of people. And if it's something that genuinely is like, hey, I think this is harming you and this is coming from love, then I'll say it. Just generally speaking, like, if you think you need to shit on other people to be the shit, you're severely mistaken. Anyway, with that, I'll close off, people. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Follow me on all my socials. Everything is Mess on Me Podcast and Valentina Giova. Bye, Illy girl.